This is the QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studio on Caraba Avenue, and I am Andy Kerma. Thanks for joining us. Here are our top stories. As part of his West African tour, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was in the Gambia earlier today for a one-day official working visit and was received by President Barrow at the State House in Banjul. The Minister of Justice Dauda A. Jallow on Wednesday clarified why some of the clauses were deleted from the 2020 draft constitution and therefore not included in the recently re-gazetted draft. Members of the ECOWAS Parliament held public meetings with border users and security personnel to better understand the realities in implementing the protocol on free movement. CDS Kenjai, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, led a delegation of the National Assembly Select Committee on Tourism and some GT board officials to Greece for a one-week study tour on heritage tourism. In sports news, at a press conference on Wednesday, the Gambia national coach Jonathan McKinstry unveiled his 24-man squad for September's 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Comoros and Tunisia. Those were the headlines, and I'll look at the stories in detail. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was in the Gambia earlier today for a one-day official working visit. Prime Minister Sanchez visited offices of the Spanish Guardia Civil and the National Police at the Gambia ports and later met President Barrow at State House, where they signed several cooperation agreements, including a labor migration scheme that will allow skilled Gambian youth to legally travel and undertake seasonal employment in Spain. Here is an excerpt with His Excellency Lang Yabu, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, regarding the visit.
It is a testament to the excellent relations between the two countries and the presence of the two leaders to witness the signing of the proposed important agreements is a reaffirmation of their vision and commitment to grow these important bilateral ties. Similarly, since the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries in 1965, the two friendly countries have been engaging each other in mutually beneficial relationship with Spanish central government agencies, local governments, NGOs, and individual citizens, continuing to intervene in the various sectors of the Gambian economy to support our nation's development. Equally, Gambian migrants continue to be law-abiding and hard-working migrants, contributing their quota in the development of both the host country, the Kingdom of Spain, and their country of origin, the Gambia. Today, when we reflect on our partnership with the Kingdom of Spain, we can only say thank you for being a wonderful host to thousands of our citizens and for complementing our development efforts as a country. His Excellency President Adama Barrow and his government and the entire people of the Gambia would continue to remember and thank the Kingdom of Spain for standing by the Gambian people in our hour of greatest need. The support the Kingdom of Spain provided as President of the UN Security Council in December 2016 contributed to maintaining peace and security in the Gambia. Therefore, in celebrating His Excellency's historic visit and the strength of our relationship at the government level, we must also seize this opportunity to salute and commend the Gambian community living in Spain and their Spanish host for their great contributions to the development of the two countries.
The Minister of Justice Dauda A. Jallow on Wednesday clarified some of the clauses deleted from the 2020 draft constitution and therefore not included in the recently re-gazetted draft. This comes after 2 weeks of deliberations and comments by professional bodies and the public on the new draft constitution. Usman Jata was at the press conference and he now tells us more.
The re-gazetted draft constitution continues to spark comment, criticism, legal analysis and public debate as it awaits its tabling before the National Assembly. At a packed press conference, Justice Minister Dauda A. Jallow addresses the allegations of a lack of or no prior consultations for the current draft.
The political parties that converge in Abuja, one of them is Dr. Sise. He was in opposition at the time, leading a political party. They were going through the constitution clause by clause, agreeing to disagree. And then there's a report that came out of that. So the report is in my ministry. If some of you would want to get that, you can get it. So if I'm misleading, then that's easy to prove.
The retroactive clause on presidential term limits, the missing clause on diaspora voting, free rights to basic education, amongst others, are among many of the concerns raised. Minister Jallow clarifies.
Education, as far as the position of government is concerned, is made free, accessible at basic education level. And at secondary level, the realization of free education at secondary and post-secondary level is contingent on government capacity. So the realization of that right is going to be progressive.
Unlike the failed 2020 draft constitution, which gave the National Assembly the power to confirm the appointment of Chief Justice and judges, the 2024 draft contains no such clause. This is Minister Jallow's reaction.
Most of the appointments subjected to National Assembly confirmation, whether it's judicial officers, cabinet ministers, and I believe some heads of agencies have been removed. The National Assembly confirmation process have been removed. That's the position of government. That has been our way of governance since independence.
As the press conference progressed, the mood changed as some participants were denied an opportunity to ask their questions. As the press conference quieted down, the Justice Minister was asked about the government's contingency plan should the draft fail like its predecessor.
It's pretty early for us to think of what should we do, because you will be pessimistic then to think that this wouldn't go through. I would encourage all of us to play our part in encouraging one another.
Minister Jallow also responded to whether some issues discussed in the Abuja consultations were tabled at the cabinet in the State House.
The report of issues that were discussed during the consultation all the way to Abuja form part of the documents that I took to cabinet. So cabinet saw it and reflected on them.
In 2018, President Adama Barrow declared the diaspora as the country's aid region. However, the diaspora voting clause is missing in the current draft constitution. Here is how Minister Jallow addressed its omission.
There is a provision in the 2020 draft, although very limited, on diaspora voting. The good thing is cabinet did not touch it. We left it as it is. We hope it could be improved on when it gets to the National Assembly.
A recent survey by Afrobarometer showed that the majority of Gambians say the country needs a new constitution, but many doubt the commitment of the political parties to the process. However, whether it will survive or get rejected now remains in the hands of the country's lawmakers. For now, the debate will rage on. Usman Jatta, reporting for QTV News.
As part of activities of the ongoing Joint Committee meeting on Free Movement Protocol in the Gambia, members of the ECOWAS Parliament held public hearing meetings with border users and security personnel to better understand the realities in implementing the protocol on free movement. Aliu Cisse has the details.
These two separate engagements at the Semega Jane Hall in Talinding with a cross-section of border users on Tuesday and with security personnel from both sides of the border at the Andalai Karam border between the Gambia and Senegal on Wednesday provided the ECOWAS parliamentarians a unique opportunity to engage local communities and stakeholders on the importance of the free movement protocol within the ECOWAS region, addressing challenges and opportunities related to this protocol. The meetings also sought to gather input from citizens to ensure that the implementation of the protocol aligns with their needs and concerns. Senator Edwin Melvin Snow Jr. of Liberia, chairman of the ECOWAS Parliament's Committee on Political Affairs, Peace, Security and African Peer Review Mechanism, and lead chair of the engagement, says it forms part of their duty to ensure committee protocols reflect people's aspirations and wishes.
It will allow me and my fellow colleagues the opportunity to get first-hand information from key stakeholders and actors that use the protocols in some aspects of their lives, either because of the work they do or are engaged with because they happen to reside outside of the state.
Traveling across borders within the ECOWAS region can be challenging despite the free movement protocol aimed at facilitating travel for citizens of member states. Many travelers allege they often face extortion from border officials who demand unofficial fees or bribes, making movement stressful and costly. A recent transport and tax-related standoff at Farafenni was only resolved after the intervention of ministers and customs officials from the Gambia and Senegal.
And we don't want to take it lightly. I've been hearing such an issue, but myself, I just went to Ker Ayub to witness it, what is happening. And after doing everything, when he knows that I am an authority, he changed the story that the driver was rude to him, but he processed all the documents at the right time and give it to me within less than 15 minutes. Everything is done. My truck has been moved back to the Gambian territory. And I think there is a difference between the internal laws of the free movements and the goods of the West African. There's an internal laws. Those laws should be synchronized with the ECOWAS law to eradicate some of these challenges. I think that's the only solution.
Reacting to the allegations, Umar Bojang, Customs Manager, Trade Facilitation and International Cooperation, Gambia Revenue Authority, said the ECOWAS protocol was designed for formal traders, hence the reasons that informal traders or petty traders have to go through several protocols at the borders, and recommend the protocol to be reviewed to consider informal traders. He has this piece of advice for travelers.
So in order to help you yourself as a trader, you make any payment to custom, ask for receipt. If you ask for receipt, they deny you receipt, then you have a case against them, and which I don't think they will do. Sometimes some traders will come and just, maybe they want to, have things in the shortest way. They engage with other people, which I'm not sure of. But I think the best thing for them is whenever you make any payment at any place, try to have a receipt of it.
These engagements are expected to raise awareness of travelers of their rights under the ECOWAS Free Movement Protocol. It is hoped that the information gathered will guide the Parliament's decision-making. For those having to endure rather than enjoy travel, the hope is that the talking will lead to action on the ground. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more local and sports news stories. Do stay tuned.
Welcome to the future of transportation in the Gambia. The Bertel-Harding Highway, a 22-kilometer double carriageway, is set to revolutionize travel and connectivity in our beloved country. The Bertel-Harding Highway is transforming transportation in the Gambia with new roundabouts and vehicular overpasses. But safety must come first. Standing along the road or at roundabouts to flag down taxis creates unsafe conditions and unnecessary traffic jams. Remember, always board taxis at designated taxi garages or the garas located at major traffic points. Drivers stopping in no stopping zones will be penalized. Let's keep our roads clear and safe. Together, we can ensure a safe and efficient journey for all.
Money ak Orange Money ñoo lëkkaloo pour yombalal leen yónnee xaalis bàyyi ko Gambia dem ba Sénégal ak Q Money Wallet looy toog di xaar dawal léegi nga ubbi Q Money account pour nga mun a door di yónnee xaalis sa xarit ak sa mbokk yi jaarale ko Orange Money Sénégal léegi pour am si lu leer mun nga call Q Money customer care si 133 Q Money suñu kalpe lii dafa ànd ak sarta yuñ tëral.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. Honorable Sidi S.K. Njai, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of the Gambia, led a delegation of the National Assembly Select Committee on Tourism, Arts and Culture and some officials of the GT Board to Greece for a one-week study tour on heritage tourism. Lali M. Kamara reports.
The study tour, which was realized within the framework of the HAMAP Gambia program and co-funded by the European Union, is another sign of the seriousness now being attached to heritage tourism. HAMAP is a heritage program which aims to contribute to the enhancement of the cultural, creative and sports industries as engines for social and economic development and job creation in the Gambia. The delegation learned about the Greek cultural and natural landscape and observed examples of practice and policies that help the country develop its heritage-based tourism and cultural industries. Greece is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, hosting over 30 million tourists each year. Its cultural and natural heritage has also been an important component of its tourism offer. This is a model that the Gambia can obviously learn from. Omar Jammeh, the Nam for Janjambure, and Sekuba, chairperson of the Select Committee on Tourism, Arts and Culture, both point out that the visit to Greece was a significant milestone in their efforts to enhance the Gambia's tourism and heritage sectors, adding that the feasibility studies will add value to the tourism industry.
For me, what could be more fruitful for me when I go back home would be, this would add value when it comes to legislations, more especially around heritage management, and by extension in the development of policies that would guide the process of heritage development in my country.
We feel it is important for us to go out and have a feasibility study so that we can see how best we can rebrand the tourism industry in the Gambia.
During the week-long visit, the delegation engaged in several benchmarking visits to heritage sites, including the Museum of the Royal Tombs at Egai, the Polycentric Museum of Egai, the White Tower, the Rotunda Mountain, and the Allied Military Cemetery, amongst other sites. In October 2023, a team from Heritage Management arrived in the Gambia to train some custodians of Gambian heritage sites. During that training, Hassoum Cissé, the Director General of the National Center for Arts and Culture, spoke of the initiative.
A training of trainers is an important part of the program, because that is the building block for capacity building. You train trainers, then they go out and train more people.
The Heritage Management Organization was established in 2008 to enable key heritage managers to independently transform heritage assets into dynamic sources of learning, community identity, and economic development through targeted training. Over 3,000 individuals and organizations from 110 countries, including the Gambia, have benefited from training organized by the Heritage Management Program. Now that this National Assembly-led delegation has returned, equipped with skills and enhanced knowledge, it is hoped their week-long visit will contribute significantly to the much-needed change in the Gambia's tourism industry. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
The Director of Cybersecurity at the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, Sanusi Drame, on Tuesday called for the enactment of strong laws against online abuse of children. He was speaking to QTV following a day-long stakeholder consultation on child and vulnerable groups online protection policy meeting. Ansumana Isonyase reports.
Except for the adopted Year 2000 Information and Communications Act, which only covers a few topics with a specific focus on addressing cybersecurity, the Gambia does not have cyber protection laws to specifically protect children and vulnerable groups. However, with support from the Western African Digital Integration Program, WADIP, the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy on Tuesday gathered stakeholders from various sectors to collaborate on creating a platform for meaningful dialogue and sharing of ideas and help shape a strong policy for online protection of children and vulnerable members of the public. Sanusi Drame, the Director of Cybersecurity at the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, says it is important to ensure protection for children and disadvantaged groups, especially on online platforms. And as he advocates for the institution of such policy, he calls for greater stakeholder collaboration.
The Gambia, we do not have any comprehensive policy or strategy that deals with issues of online child abuse, issues that are related to abuse of vulnerable groups in the cyberspace or on the online media. So we thought it's fitting to ensure that we have a comprehensive national policy and also some standards that internet service providers would agree upon to encourage awareness-raising programs, as well as other content providers and other general stakeholders, so that people can be aware about child online abuse and what they can do to enforce child online protection.
Furthermore, Mr. Drame also calls on internet and other IT-related service providers to do more to protect children and vulnerable members of society on their platforms.
For internet content and to the populace, so if they put in place measures that will kind of mitigate the risks that are associated to the child abuse as well as abuse to vulnerable groups, this will be a great win. But for us to do that, we need to bring them on board from the onset. They have to be part of the process, the policy making, as well as those standards that we are going to develop as part of this exercise. Yeah.
Though the Gambia is yet to enact specific online privacy and protection laws for children, this consultation, which signifies efforts to develop and enforce a national internet child protection policy, has been welcomed by stakeholders at this consultation meeting, which many of them joined virtually. It is hoped that once implemented, the policy will create safety for children and the vulnerable. Ansmane Sonyasi for KTV News.
We'll now shift our attention to some sports news. During a press conference at Football House on Wednesday, the Gambia national team coach Jonathan McKinstry unveiled his 24-man squad for September's 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Comoros and Tunisia. Our sports reporter Momodu Gajaga was there and he now reports.
Jonathan McKinstry's squad for the crucial AFCON qualifiers against the informed Comoros and resolute Tunisia includes 5 first-time call-ups. They are Lamin Seydi, a Real de Banjul goalkeeper in the domestic top division. The newcomers, all of whom play for European-based teams, are Joseph Cisse, Seni Sanyang, Mamadou Njai, and Abdoulaye Cisse. Coach McKinstry explains his selection.
In terms of the squad itself, we think it's a really competitive group. There's going to be some players who are very disappointed to miss out because, like we said, that competition for places, I say to the coaching staff, the best coach in football is competition. If you've got competition for your place, you've got to be playing well week in, week out. Otherwise, you're going to be out.
The Gambia lost 3-2 away to Gabon in World Cup qualification, which was McKinstry's second competitive game as Scorpions coach, following the 5-1 thumping victory over Seychelles in the first. Despite hoping to take that form into the Gabon game, the team's wastefulness, particularly in the first half, when they went in leading 1-0 at halftime, it was to cost them dearly. Coach McKinstry thinks they need to be more clinical in their finishing, especially given the current good form of upcoming opponents, Comoros and Tunisia.
Conversion of chances is a big thing for us, and again, this is a new era that we're trying to usher in with the national team. Everybody, I think, federation, coaches, players, the general public were agreed that we wanted to see a more front foot, more aggressive, more positive national team approach.
Ablai Jallo, James Gomez, Ibu Toure, and Ali Sow all returned to the squad after missing the June World Cup qualifiers due to injury, which will have a massive boost, according to the coach, McKinstry.
We're looking forward to the games. The 2 games are going to be very different than the last 2. Comoros, very difficult opponent, top of their World Cup group. Very hard-working opponent. And then Tunisia, someone recently described Tunisia to me as the Germany of Africa because they always qualify every time they go. They just know how to get it done.
With the Gambia conceding a lot of goals in recent games, how the team plays defensively must improve against Comoros and Tunisia. Coach McKinstry says he isn't worried about his defense despite conceding 2 soft goals against Gabon in their last game.
We've conceded a few soft goals from set pieces, so we need to tighten that up. I'm not overly concerned about it because, one, I think we were missing, if you look at all the players who were injured the last time out, most of them were defensive players, so we welcome most of them back in this time.
The Gambia will play against Comoros on the 4th of September before facing Tunisia on the 8th of September. Both games will be played in Morocco as Comoros cannot play in their home stadium, and neither can the Gambia. Gambian football fans will be hoping for an upturn in fortunes as the team sets off on the road to try and qualify for a 3rd consecutive AFCON. Mamadou Gajaga, KTV News.
Before we end, here's a recap of the headlines. As part of his West Africa tour, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was in the Gambia earlier today for a one-day official working visit and was received by President Barrow at the State House in Banjul. The Minister of Justice Dauda A. Jallow on Wednesday clarified why some clauses were deleted from the 2020 draft constitution and therefore not included in the regazetted draft. Members of the ECOWAS Parliament held public meetings with border users and security personnel to better understand the realities in implementing the protocol on free movement. CDS Kenjai, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, led a delegation of the National Assembly Select Committee on Tourism and some GT Board officials to Greece for a one-week study tour on heritage tourism. In sports, a press conference on Wednesday, the Gambia national team coach Jonathan McKinstry unveiled his 24-man squad for September's 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Comoros and Tunisia. Well, that's all we have for you in this bulletin. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.